Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. And today, we're revisiting a childhood classic,
Oh, yeah.
E.B. White's Charlotte's Web. I'm really excited to kind of jump into this with you
Me too.
and to really kind of uncover some of the themes that maybe we missed as kids.
Right.
Really think about loyalty and sacrifice and the cycle of life,
Yeah.
and all those things that make this book so enduring.
It's amazing how E.B. White manages to weave these profound
Uh-huh.
themes into what seems like a simple children's story.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack here.
Absolutely. And it all starts with Fern, that determined little girl who wants to save Wilbur,
Oh, yeah.
the runt pig. Right from the start, you see this deep sense of empathy in her.
Yeah.
She's like challenging the way adults value life
Right.
by choosing to nurture Wilbur as if he were a human baby.
It's a powerful statement.
It is.
It really is. Fern's unwavering devotion to Wilbur really sets the stage
It does.
for all the complex relationships that he developed throughout the story.
Yeah, and that bond makes Wilbur's transition to the Zuckerman farm even more poignant.
Oh, for sure.
He goes from being Fern's constant companion to feeling completely lost
Right.
in this new environment.
It's that feeling of isolation that really resonates, even as an adult.
Yeah.
Remember how desperately Wilbur seeks connection with all the other animals?
Oh, yeah.
He even takes advice from the old goose and tries to escape.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, he tries to escape and then he realizes that freedom isn't all it's cracked up to be.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Which leads us to the entrance of our web-spinning heroine, Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Her first words to Wilbur, salutations,
Oh,
really highlight the contrast between their personalities.
I love that.
She's practical, matter-of-fact about being a spider,
Right.
while Wilbur is so naive and innocent.
And while we're talking about practical, can we talk about her amazing web spinning skills?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, White compares her efficiency to the 8 years it took humans to build the Queensboro Bridge.
That's one of the things I love about White's writing. He uses these brilliant juxtapositions
Yeah.
to kind of highlight the wonders of nature and how us humans, we tend to overcomplicate things.
We do.
But even amidst those idyllic summer days on the farm, there's a shadow lurking,
There is.
and the news of Wilbur's fate.
Hits hard.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
It's a reminder of the fragility of life and how quickly things can change.
It is. Wilbur is understandably terrified, but Charlotte, in an incredible display of loyalty,
Right?
vows to save him.
Yes,
This is where you start to see the depth of her character.
absolutely.
She's not just a clever fighter, she's a true friend.
She is.
And the way that Fern's family reacts to her stories about the talking animals is so telling.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're skeptical, of course, which
Right.
kind of highlights that clash between adult practicality and a child's sense of wonder.
Absolutely. I felt that way all the time as a kid.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like the adults just didn't get it.
Yeah, they just don't get it. And interestingly, Dr. Dorian, that voice of reason in the story actually reassures Mrs. Arable
He does.
that Fern's fascination with the barn is normal. He
Hmm.
recognizes the value in her connection to nature.
That's a good point. He represents that rare adult that understands and encourages a child's imagination.
He does. And then, bam, out of nowhere, the first words appear in Charlotte's Web. Some pig.
Right? It's brilliant. It's a brilliant move by Charlotte Lurvy. Is stunned. Mr. Zuckerman thinks it's a miracle.
I know.
It shows you the power of words and belief to shape perception.
Absolutely.
And suddenly everybody sees Wilbur differently.
They do. People flock to see some pig.
Right.
The media kicks into gear, spreading the news. But Charlotte knows that one miracle isn't enough.
No.
She needs more words,
More web magic.
more web magic. Which brings us to Templeton.
Templeton, the cynical rat, who reluctantly gets pulled into Charlotte's plan.
I love it.
This is where the story takes an interesting turn. Charlotte has to appeal to Templeton's, basest instincts
Yeah.
to convince him that helping Wilbur will ultimately benefit him, too.
He's such a great character. He's so selfish and grumpy. But even Templeton has a soft spot deep down somewhere.
You all do.
We all do. And who can forget those hilarious rejected words that he brings back?
Oh, my gosh.
Crunchy pre-shrine.
Radiant
with
action.
new radiant action. And Wilbur, being the good sport that he is,
Right.
goes all out with his radiant action performance.
Yes.
He completely trusts Charlotte,
He does.
even if he doesn't understand the plan.
That trust is key.
Yeah.
And as the story builds towards the county fair, you can't help but wonder, will Charlotte's plan work?
Yeah.
Will Wilbur be saved? The county fair, it isn't just a setting.
Right.
It's like this whole microcosm of human society.
Yeah.
with the excitement and the
Yeah.
desire for the
This
extraordinary.
is
It's
sure.
like the perfect stage for Charlotte to really play with our perceptions
Yeah.
and ultimately orchestrate Wilbur's salvation.
And it's interesting how Wilbur is like presented at the fair.
Yeah.
You know that buttermilk bath that Mr. Zuckerman gives him? I always saw that as very symbolic.
It's like a ritual cleansing before sacrifice.
Oh, interesting. What do you think?
I think you're spot on. I think
Yeah.
there's definitely some foreshadowing there.
Yeah.
And remember, Charlotte, ever the pragmatist, is like, I am going to stow away.
Yeah.
I'm going to get in that crate with Wilbur.
Yeah, she's going to the fair.
She's like, I know the real work is going to happen at the fair.
Exactly.
And of course, Templeton only agrees to come along because he's heard about all the amazing food scraps.
Of course he wants the scraps.
He's like, oh, sign me up.
Classic Templeton.
Exactly. Motivated purely by self-interest, which makes his later actions even more surprising.
Right.
But before we get to that, let's talk about Wilbur's arrival at the fair.
Okay.
He encounters Uncle the prize-winning pig, and the contrast between them is just so striking.
Oh, it's amazing. Uncle's all swagger.
Yes.
Bravado, you know?
Yeah.
Well, Wilbur, despite Charlotte's efforts, still struggles with self-doubt.
Yeah, he's humble almost to a fault.
He is.
And that humility is precisely what Charlotte wants to highlight.
Yeah.
She knows it's Wilbur's most endearing quality.
Right.
But, she's weakening. And this time, she needs Templeton's help more than ever.
She does.
Remember that scene where she asks him to bring back one final word for her web?
Oh, yeah.
It's just heartbreaking knowing that she's nearing the end of her life.
Yeah.
And Templeton, of course,
Grumbles.
but ultimately delivers.
Yeah.
Humble, he says, tossing her a newspaper clipping.
It's the perfect word.
It is.
Not just because it describes Wilbur accurately, but because it has that double meaning
Right.
that Charlotte points out, not proud and near the ground.
Exactly.
It speaks to his simple nature,
Yes.
his connection to the earth.
It's brilliant.
It is. And as Charlotte, painstakingly weaves humble into her web,
Yeah.
fireworks are erupting in the distance.
Wow.
It's like this beautiful culmination of all of her efforts, but you can't help but feel the bittersweetness of it all,
Yeah.
knowing that this is her last act.
Absolutely. Charlotte's sacrifice is both heartbreaking and inspiring,
Yeah.
She gives everything to save Wilbur, even her own life.
Right.
It's really a testament to the power of selfless love and true friendship.
It is. And what gets me is that the crowd celebrates the miracle of the web,
Right.
completely unaware of the unseen force behind it.
A mastermind
Yeah.
working behind the scenes.
Yeah. It's a poignant reminder that the greatest acts of kindness often go unnoticed,
They do.
but their impact is undeniable.
Right.
Wilbur wins his special award,
Yes.
but more importantly, he gains something far more valuable,
What's that?
a true understanding of his own worth.
His own worth, yeah.
And Charlotte, even in her final moments, thinks of Wilbur's future.
She does.
She makes him promise to care for her egg sac,
Right.
ensuring that her legacy will continue.
Continuation.
And that moment when Wilbur carries the precious sack in his mouth,
Wow.
it signifies hope, new beginnings,
Yeah.
the cycle of life continuing. And it's amazing how Templeton, despite his gruff exterior,
I know.
steps up to help. He retrieves the sack from the fairgrounds,
He does.
ensuring that Charlotte's children will survive.
Right.
What did you make of that shift in his character?
It's subtle, but it speaks volumes. I think even Templeton, the most cynical of creatures, is touched by Charlotte's generosity and Wilbur's devotion.
For sure.
He may not admit it, but I think he's coming to understand the importance of their friendship.
Yeah, I think you're right. He might grumble and complain, but deep down, I think Templeton cares.
He does.
So, while Charlotte quietly passes away at the deserted fairgrounds,
Yeah.
Wilbur returns to the barn, carrying within him the memory of his friend and the promise of new life.
Yes.
It's a poignant ending to this chapter of the story, but of course, Wilbur's journey isn't over yet.
It isn't. And that brings us to the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we'll explore the aftermath of Charlotte's death and the enduring impact she has on Wilbur and the entire barnyard community.
Okay, so let's get into it. It's interesting, even in Charlotte's absence,
Yeah.
her presence is felt so strongly in the barn.
It is.
It's like her spirit lives on not just in Wilbur, but
Right.
like in the very fabric of the farm itself.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And you see it most clearly, I think, with the arrival of Charlotte's children
Right.
in the spring.
Yeah.
Hundreds of these tiny spiderlings emerge.
Oh, yeah.
This joyful explosion of new life. against, this backdrop of loss.
It is such a poignant contrast.
It is?
Charlotte's gone, but new life is springing forth.
Wow.
It's almost as if her spirit is being reborn
Yeah.
through her offspring. And Wilbur's reaction to the spiderlings is so heartwarming.
Oh, it is.
He instantly becomes their protector, keeping
Yeah.
them warm, speaking to them with tenderness.
Right.
He even sings them that lullaby Shirley wrote.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, deep, deep in the dung in the dark.
Such a simple lullaby. Yet, it speaks volumes about Charlotte's understanding of life and death and, the natural world.
The natural world.
And as her children grow, Wilbur watches with, this mixture of pride and melancholy.
Yeah.
As most of them sail away on their silicon balloons,
Yeah.
ready to make their own mark on the world.
Yeah.
It's like watching a part of Charlotte
It is.
being carried off on the wind.
I love that. And it's a bittersweet moment for Wilbur.
Yeah.
Especially because he couldn't go with Charlotte on that final journey.
Right.
But thankfully, not all of the spiderlings leave.
No, they don't.
A few choose to stay.
Right.
Spinning their webs in the barn, creating this sense of continuity, this
Yeah.
reminder that Charlotte's legacy will live on.
Exactly. It's that sense of enduring connection
Yeah.
that I think allows Wilbur to find some peace
Yeah.
and acceptance.
Yeah.
He learns to embrace the simple joys of life.
They're changing seasons.
Changing seasons, the companionship.
Yeah.
He even keeps his promise to Templeton,
He does.
sharing his meals with the ever-hungry rat.
Speaking of Templeton, what did you make of his transformation?
Oh, it's amazing.
He goes from this, selfish, cynical creature
Right.
to playing a crucial role in saving Charlotte's children
Yeah.
and ultimately becoming a true friend to Wilbur.
Right.
It's an unexpected arc, but a satisfying one.
It is. Templeton shows us that even the most unlikely characters are capable of growth and change.
I love that.
He may still grumble and complain,
Right.
but his actions speak louder than words.
They do.
He's learned the value of community, the value of loyalty
Yeah.
of something bigger than himself.
It is a powerful message. It's that we all have the capacity for change,
Right.
for kindness, even when it's inconvenient.
Absolutely.
And as the story concludes, we see Wilbur thriving.
Yes, we do.
He's become this, beloved member of the farm,
Well,
this symbol of resilience and the enduring power of friendship.
That's true. He embodies Charlotte's legacy in so many ways. He, as the book so eloquently states,
Yeah.
it is not often that someone comes along who is a true friend and a good writer.
Right.
Charlotte was both.
I love that.
And through her friendship, Wilbur discovered his own strength
Yeah.
and his own unique value.
So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into Charlotte's Web, I'm curious, what are you left pondering?
You know what? It's reminded me that even in the face of loss,
Yeah.
there's always hope. There's always beauty to be found
Right.
in the ordinary.
Yeah.
And that even the smallest acts of kindness
Right.
can have a ripple effect and change lives in ways that we may never fully comprehend.
Yeah. What about you?
What about me?
What are you walking away with?
I think for me, it's the power of connection.
Uh-huh.
Charlotte and Wilbur's friendship transcended species, circumstance, even death.
Yeah.
It reminds me that we're all interconnected in some way,
Yeah.
and that the bonds that we forge can have a lasting impact,
Absolutely.
not just on ourselves,
Right.
but on the world around us.
Beautifully said. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our web, so to speak.
I think we have.
Thanks for joining us on this heartwarming journey back to the world of Charlotte's Web. We hope you've enjoyed the deep dive. Until next time.